Okay, now I am adding Odette. Welcome, Odette.
Hello.
Add your slides, and hopefully Odette's going to be okay because we've had a few issues with Wi-Fi. But I'm going to hand over to you to introduce yourself, Odette, and I'm going to come off stream.
Thanks, Helen, and good evening to everyone. I hope you're enjoying the talk. It's great. I've been in and out, I'm afraid, because the internet's been a little bit strange here. So I'm hoping this is going to go without too many hitches. So I'm Odette Rodder. I'm a children's and young persons nurse specialist. I've been working in the NHS for nearly 30 years. And I'm currently working within both dermatology and allergy services. So I've recently completed my MSc in allergy. So I've followed in Helen's footsteps. And just a little bit of note for anyone watching, I am also a registered health visitor and have in a previous part of my career worked in health visiting. So quite useful for sleep and feeding issues along the way. So my special interests are that I have a real interest in allergies and eczema and their links, and really love supporting families with complex skin conditions as well as allergies and eczema. And I work with quite a lot of adolescents with skin problems and mental health. So I'm going to just talk to you a little bit tonight about eczema, and really the key to having the right support and the right knowledge to eczema is the key to you as families treating and managing the condition. Eczema is something that really affects an awful lot of families. 1 in 5 families will often have some eczema. There's often limited knowledge in primary care about managing it. So I think your journeys are often quite tricky. And just arming yourselves with the right levels of knowledge can really help. So I'm sure you'll agree. My picture's moved. I'm ever so sorry about that. But eczema can feel like a roller coaster in the dark going backwards. You take several steps forward and several steps back. You don't ever feel as if you're getting anywhere. Often the treatments don't work to start with, and it sometimes takes several times to get things right. So we know that eczema is a dry skin condition. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about skin and what it is. So this is a really, really simple way of looking at skin, comparing the normal versus the eczema. So think of it as a brick wall. So all the individual layers of skin are your bricks. The moisture holding everything together is your cement. And your roof is your skin barrier. So in eczema, what's happening is that moisture and the waters and the fats are leaking out of the skin, causing all of that dryness that you can feel. And it often feels like rough sandpaper. Your skin barrier is what's broken, and that's often where the areas of inflammation are. So you'll go round and round in circles until you get this treatment right. So the cornerstone of treatment with all eczema is moisturizing. But you've got to get your moisturizers right. And there are hundreds of them. So each area within the UK will have a list that the GPs and health visitors are able to prescribe from. And they are different, even from, I work in Dorset and Hampshire, and they're different between Dorset and Hampshire. So I'm sure you'll all have come across quite a lot of different moisturizers. I've put a few little pictures up of some that you can see. So there are things like Double Base and Epimax, Hydromol ointment. There's also Epiderm ointment, Cetraban ointment, and 50/50. There's also the Avenos and the Cetrabans. So there are lots and lots and lots of moisturizers. Moisturizers really are the key to getting everything right. So if you've got a pot of moisturizer lurking in your cupboard, it's probably a 500-gram tub. The recommendations from NICE are that you should be using about 250 grams to 500 grams of moisturizer on your baby. It's an awful lot of moisturizer, and it means that you have to get that into the daily routine. It's really hard, and I often say the first 10 times you ever do it, it's going to be really, really tricky. But after that, once you've got it into the daily routine, it's much, much easier. But liberal and frequent application is absolutely key to getting everything right. The more you use, the better the skin will be, and the less likely you are to have areas of inflammation. But there are lots available. So creams, lotions, gels, ointments. There's a plethora of creams and treatments available. It's about finding one that you like, finding one that works, and finding one that's not going to stay in the pot. Because I'm sure you've all got lots and lots and lots of creams lurking around in your cupboards, but you'll favour one or two. Now, I tend to favour the greasy moisturisers. They're not always particularly user-friendly, but they work really well. So 50-50, Epiderm ointment, Hydromol ointment, Epimax ointment, Xeroderm ointment. There are lots of ointments, but they're multi-purpose. They can be dissolved and added to the bath as a soap substitute. They can be used as a moisturiser. They're great for using pre-swimming, perfect for using to the face pre-food to stop those contact reactions, and just really helpful. But I agree, they're not always user-friendly. So aiming for 250 grams a week, not a day. I've just seen one of the questions pop up on the side of my screen. So I don't want to frighten you. You're not going to need to use that amount every week, every day, but aiming for that every week. So ideally, you should be asking your GP for 1 to 2 tubs of moisturiser every month. I haven't done a slide about topical steroid treatments because I will cover that in much more detail in Helen's course, but really just to talk through to you today that there is a steroid ladder, starting with very weak topical steroids such as your hydrocortisones, and then moving through to the more stronger steroids. It's really important to have appropriate level topical steroids. If you have an appropriate level, you need to then use it well. There is so much fear about topical steroid use. And if I can reassure you just a little bit tonight, using the lower strength topical steroids, you're really not going to harm your babies. You're going to help to get that barrier on the skin better by treating the areas of inflammation that you see. If you don't use your topical steroids for long enough, the inflammation on the top is going to disappear, but the inflammation underneath may well stay around for a little bit longer. So as soon as you stop it, it all comes back again. And then you get hugely frustrated because the treatment just isn't working. But hang on in there. You will get there. It will take time. And if you're anything like me, you're hugely impatient and you want everything to work now. But sometimes things take time. And it's having the confidence as a mum or a dad to actually apply the steroids. Don't be fearful of them. Try and make them your friends because they are actually only an anti-inflammatory treatment. Used safely and with support, you will get there. So really give yourself a break. Embrace life with eczema. Stay safe and more importantly, stay sane. Dealing with eczema is hard work. It's okay to feel overwhelmed. As I say, it's like a roller coaster in the dark going backwards. But dealing with eczema and allergies is really stressful and it can be absolutely terrifying. The lack of sleep as a new mum often makes everything fuzzy. But you're the one that holds the family together often. And having you functioning will make everybody much happier. But do remember that each hurdle that you pass is one that you've achieved. So celebrate those milestones. If you have a few days where the eczema isn't quite so active, take a step, take a breath, and celebrate the fact that you've got a few days without active eczema. But proactively treating flares rather than reacting is really important. So once you've got to that level of control where you're celebrating odd days without active eczema, if you see tiny new areas appearing, jump in there with your topical steroids and proactively treat them because it will save them getting worse. And I appreciate when you're working with eczema and allergies, it's really tricky because sometimes there are no answers. We automatically think that allergies are the cornerstone of all problems with eczema, but they're not. It's an up and down journey, but remember, you're not alone. There's a lot of people on this talk tonight that have eczema. And keep a diary or keep some pictures, because when things are better, you'll realize how far that you've come. The first 2 years of life with eczema are definitely the worst. So with a baby with eczema, you will have ups and downs. There are many, many triggers, coughs and colds and viruses, learning about the environment, starting new foods, gaining teeth. Even the weather can be a problem. So don't despair. There is lots of help out there. So my personal aims is for children and young people and their families to be really knowledgeable and less terrified about your skin conditions and allergies. We want you to be happy and to live well with eczema, because I come across so many families who don't do things with their babies and don't enjoy those first months of life. It doesn't have to dominate every waking moment. And with the right support and the right treatments, you can enjoy your babies. We want you to be able to confidently manage the ups and downs, and we want you to feel listened to and well supported. But one of my personal aims is for all healthcare professionals to be able to support you as families and to be confident in their own personal knowledge of skin conditions, to make them confident in dealing with any of your queries and concerns. So how will the allergy course help you? Well, I'm hoping that I'm going to give you the knowledge and the skills to navigate some of the treatments and to empower you as families to manage the eczema well. We'll explore eczema, why it occurs, and discuss how allergy and eczema are related in detail. I'm hoping to explore eczema relationships with both food and allergies. But more importantly, the environmental allergies, because they're often quite tricky to manage. Introducing you to treatments. There are many available, but unpicking how best to use them. Everybody gets different advice and everybody's happy to give different advice. But what we want you to know is actually how to manage it in the best way that you possibly can. But more importantly, I want to give you the skills and understanding so that you are the person that's most in control and that you can actually improve your child's skin. Now, I've seen a few questions come up on the chat while I've been talking, so I'm sure Helen's going to throw lots at me now.
I'm going to throw a few at you. So Tom has asked, when you're talking about ointment, did you mean 250 to 500 grams a day or a week?
No, I meant a week, and I saw that pop up and went, oh, wow, a week. That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, a week. A day would be impressive. It might well help, but lots of people commented about how difficult eczema is. In many ways, they find it harder than the food allergies, and people underestimating how tricky it is. I'll give you a kind of an example of the steroid question. So we're using 50-50 for our 11th month old. We finished a 2-week course of steroids and it's come back after a week. When can we start again?
So often it does take longer, and faces are really difficult because you get dribble and snot and food and all sorts of different things. So using a greasy moisturizer regularly will help. But if you've got areas of inflammation, often you have to use the topical steroids for really long periods of time. And sometimes that can be every day for 6 or 8 weeks to really try and get that inflammation under control. What you want to do is try and use an appropriate level steroid so that it is actually working, but making sure that you're applying enough. Because actually underuse of steroid is much, much more common than overuse of steroid. So when you're applying, making sure that you're applying enough. So if you have an ointment, you need to see a thin greasy layer where you've applied it.
Yeah.
If you can't see it, my tip is you've not used enough. And often you have to use it for much longer than you think you need to use it. Because I think as a mum, you would accept pale pink as good. But actually, as a healthcare professional, I want you to go another week or 10 days further and get to clear skin.
Yeah.
So I've got a bit of a saying in my clinic, if you get to your good, go another week or two, and actually you'll get to my good. And sometimes with steroid, Helen, you know as much as I do, if you use it every day and then you taper it down slowly, you get much better results than just stopping.
Yeah. And I always say to people when they say to me, well, how long? You know, my GP said a week or 2 weeks at the best. And I'm like, well, I never put a time frame on it because you can't. I do have babies on it for months and months and months persistently, as do you. And that is okay. Because if you don't, they won't sleep. You don't sleep. Everybody's mental health's affected. They don't grow properly. And I always use the analogy of you treat the asthma by putting inhaled steroids in. And nobody seems to have a problem with that. It's just the other way around. We're just putting it onto the skin. And I wish people could understand that and be a bit less scared, and healthcare professionals, and then the control would be much better.
I think it's true. And there's a lot of scaremongering and a lot of fear about topical steroids. But you really aren't going to do any harm with the lower strength topical steroids. And if your baby needs it, it's much better to use it. Because actually all the rest of the effects slowly resolve. So you sleep better, they itch and scratch less, they enjoy their food better, they have less food allergies in the long run. So really the key is just use it.
Yeah. Thank you, Odette. I'm going to remove you. A brilliant talk. And I know loads of people got loads of questions, but that's what the course is for. Some more information. So thank you very much.
Thank
you. Oh, sorry, Odette was saying thank you.